It's so beautiful!
Greetings everyone, old and new! Welcome to Haseo Reviews! As you saw in the beginning, your boy's finally upgraded from using low-quality captures of PS1 games through his PS3 to the big leagues, a Frame Meister! I've been so obsessed with it lately that I've been playing nothing but retro games just to see how good they look on it. So to celebrate my precious new baby, and because I'm completely terrible at making basic life decisions, I held a poll to let you guys decide what the next review will be, and... Really? Only 3 people voted? Oh well, regardless, the winner was the Squaresoft cult classic, Brave Fencer Musashi. The idea that would become the Musashi franchise was pitched to Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi in 1997, presumably during or after Final Fantasy VII's development. The idea was for an action game loosely based around the legendary samurai Musashi Miyamoto, who would be summoned from ancient Japan to other worlds as a sort of hero for hire. The first game in this would-be series would be quickly put into production, with a setting based on medieval Europe, reimagining Musashi as a kid with attitude, as that was what sold at the time, and incorporating other aspects of Japanese history, most notably a character based on Kojiro Sasaki, another legendary samurai who had a real-life duel to the death with Musashi. Brave Fencer Musashi, or Brave Fencer The Legend of Musashi in Japan, was released in Japan and North America in 1998 to critical acclaim, but you know what we do here. We potentially spoil all the fun and positivity by taking off our nostalgia goggles and seeing how this game holds up in the modern age. So without further ado, let's recap the plot. All-You-Can-Eat Castle is under attack by the evil Thirst Quencher Empire, while the king and queen are on vacation. In an act of desperation, Princess Filet uses an ancient ritual to summon a hero from another world who had once saved the kingdom in the past from the Wizard of Darkness, the legendary Brave Fencer Musashi. However, instead of the hero they were expecting, they get a bratty kid. Presumably deciding that he's better than nothing, the princess and her servants give him a sword called Fusion and his mission: go to Spiral Tower and retrieve the legendary sword Lumina, the Sword of Luminescence. Musashi solves a few puzzles, claims the sword, gets chased by a terrifying stone head of death, and returns to the castle to find that the princess has been kidnapped by Rutrick, the son of Thirst Quencher's ruler, the evil Fuhrer Flatsky. Rutrick escapes and leaves Musashi to fight his giant robotic steam knight. Musashi defeats it and passes out from exhaustion. He awakens the next day to be told by the princess's butler and steward that he must find the 5 elemental scrolls, rescue the trapped citizens of All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom, and save Princess Filet before he can return home. The majority of the game can be summed up as Musashi helps out the villagers in his new home base, finds a scroll, defeats its corresponding Crest Guardian, and occasionally has run-ins with the forces of Thirst Quencher, including Rutrick, the bumbling Leaders Force members Ed, Ben, and Topo, the Miss Thirst Quencher sisters Gingerelle and Bubbles, and Musashi's self-proclaimed rival Kojiro, another swordsman from his world summoned by Princess Filet. Along the way, he also encounters and befriends a treasure hunter named John and his dog Leno. More on that later. After finding the final scroll, Musashi encounters the head of Thirst Quencher's army, Colonel Capricola. He gives chase, storming Thirst Quencher's flying fortress, the Soda Fountain, and along the way defeating Leader's Force. He finally reaches Capricola, and here's where the twists begin. After defeating the final Crest Guardian and awakening the final Crest, Fuhrer Flatsky himself appears with Princess Filet in tow. He demands that Capricola retrieve Lumina from Musashi so he can unseal the crest and claim ultimate power, but Capricola turns on him, revealing that not only was he Musashi's buddy John the whole time, but he was also the orphan son of the rightful Emperor of Thirst Quencher, presumed to be dead after Flatsky murdered his parents. However, before he can get his revenge, John is attacked by Rutrick. Musashi gives up Lumina in exchange for Filet's safety, and Flatsky frees the final crest. To everyone's shock, freeing all the crests releases the Wizard of Darkness that the legendary Musashi sealed long ago. Instead of obeying the man who freed him, the wizard crushes Flatsky and chases after Musashi, killing John along the way. Before Musashi and Filet can escape, they're stopped by Kojiro, demanding a rematch. The The wizard then absorbs and fuses with Kojiro. Musashi slays the wizard once and for all, pieces return to All-You-Can-Eat Kingdom, and Musashi returns Lumina to Spiral Tower, completing his journey and returning home. Brave Fencer Musashi's plot is your basic Squaresoft archetype of hero beats evil empire while gathering elemental artifacts to save the world, but presented in a more lighthearted, humorous manner. There's lots of puns, mostly with characters being named after food and drinks, goofy-looking monsters, hammy villains, and lots of attitude from Musashi himself. The writing won't win any awards, but it does the job decently enough. One of the aspects that was praised at the time was the sheer amount of voice acting in the game, which was uncommon in RPGs of the time. The voices, for the most part, range from decent to genuinely good, with a cast that features a surprising amount of big-name voice actors for such an obscure project, including Mona Marshall as Musashi, Barbara Goodson as Kojiro, Sandy Fox as Filet, Paul St. Peter as Flatsky, Kirk Thornton as Ed, and Steve motherfucking Bloom as John. Literally every character in the game has at least one line of dialogue, even the shopkeepers and random NPCs that populate Grillin Village. The soundtrack by composer Tsuyoshi Sekito is utterly phenomenal, with every single track in the game being either catchy, atmospheric, moody, or calming. Probably the two most well-known tracks from the game are The Musashi Legend and Twin Peak Mountain. But my personal favorite has to be the credits theme, Far Into the Sky, a remix of the Musashi Legend that serves as an epic finale to the adventure. Gameplay is unique for its time, combining platforming, RPG elements, and Zelda-esque swordplay. The game is, for the most part, viewed from a top-down perspective, giving you a clear view of your surroundings and preventing any camera-based shenanigans which were common in early 3D games. Combat is based around using both of your swords, Lumina and Fusion. Fusion is used for quick, light attacks, while Lumina is used for slow, strong attacks. Both can be charged up for a special ability unique to each sword by holding down the R1 button until your power meter fills. When Fusion is fully charged up, Musashi yeets it at whichever enemy you're facing, and by mashing the square button until the meter fills again, Musashi temporarily gains a new ability based on the enemy he was fighting. These can range from offensive abilities like telekinetic bullets and missiles, to defensive abilities like instant poison cures, to status effects like
crippling depression.
Charging up Lumina activates one of 6 abilities based on which of the 5 scrolls you have equipped. With none equipped, Musashi does a devastating spin attack. The Earth Scroll causes earthquakes, the Water Scroll creates a barrier which lets you walk on water and gives you a projectile attack that can put out fires, the Fire Scroll shoots a flamethrower that can melt ice and light torches, the Wind Scroll makes you spin like a top and lets you dig into soft dirt, and the Sky Scroll lets you hover. The elemental abilities are unique for sure, but they're a bit more situational than I'd like. I never found myself using them in combat unless it was against one of the Crest Guardians, which are basically tests on how well you know how to use the scroll you just got. Definite missed opportunity there. Now, how do those RPG mechanics fit in? Well, Musashi has a life meter and a magic meter, as well as various physical stats. They all start out pitifully low, but can be increased in various ways. Magic can be increased by freeing citizens trapped in Bincho fields and by defeating bosses. Life can be increased by finding the hidden Minku creatures, catching them, and eating the berry they cough up. And your stats can be increased by fighting monsters and just wandering around. Rescuing townsfolk doesn't just increase your max magic, however. Some of them can help you out in varying ways, from teaching you new combat techniques, to helping you progress through gated-off sections of the game, to making new items available at the shops. Throughout the world, you'll find treasure chests. These can contain anything from money, to vendor trash that can be appraised and sold at the pawn shop, to one of the 5 pieces of Musashi's legendary armor, which each grant their own gameplay bonuses. Only 2 of them are required for progression, but finding all 5 definitely makes your journey easier. One of the most unique features of Brave Fencer Musashi at the time was that it had a time progression system, with day and night cycles, every character having their own set schedule, stores only being open at certain hours, and some being closed on specific days, and even events in the game that only occur at specific times of day, like the tide going in and out, or the Minkus only appearing at night.
The last thing to note about the gameplay is the mini-games, and hoo boy.
These are a hot mess. None of them are any fun, they're all required for progression, and the rules for failure are irritatingly inconsistent. Some of them let you continue from the beginning of the minigame, like the log riding sequence or the minecart sequence, but some make you reload your last save point, which, since you can only save at the inn or at memory boxes, means you have to do a lot of backtracking to get back to the minigame just for a second chance. The worst offender by far is Steamwood. This is a time section where running out of time or doing anything out of sequence results in an instant game over. First of all, the timer moves faster than Sonic the Hedgehog after drinking 15 shots of espresso, making every single step you make count. Second, you have to fix each steam valve in a specific order, or else you get a game over. Third, fixing the valves takes forever and is entirely dependent on how good your reflexes are, coupled with how much input lag your display has. Fourth, after clearing a valve, a second timer starts up, and if that runs out, every single valve resets, making you have to start over from square one. I could easily see this being a brick wall for younger players trying to beat the game for the first time. And finally, you have to do this minigame twice throughout the game, and the second time adds a new rule where some of the valves are missing their handles, forcing you to waste time finding them first. Steamwood is without a doubt the worst part of the whole game, and nearly ruins what's otherwise a pretty smooth ride.
Now with all that said, does Brave Fencer Musashi deserve all the praise it got back in the day? In my opinion, yes. Yes, it does.
Brave Fencer Musashi is a truly unique experience, especially for 1998. Its story is lighthearted and goofy without being outright stupid, its gameplay is fun and engaging, and the music is outstanding. There are definitely a few hiccups along the way, mostly relating to the minigames, but otherwise, I wholeheartedly recommend Brave Fencer Musashi to any retro gamer who's looking for an action RPG they might not have heard of before. Musashi would go on to have one sequel in 2005, Musashi Samurai Legend, and that one is...
not good.
yeah, what he said.
Maybe I'll cover it in the future. But until then, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell if you're new and you like what you see. Leave a comment on how awesome or how terrible I am. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.